Shaming people that don't want to be alive anymore is crazy. People die from postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome because if you're so disabled and bedbound you have zero quality of life, people take their own. There's no cure for POTS, but it will go away if you do. Why would someone want a terminal? Why would someone want to get hit by a bus? It's called mental illness. It goes hand in hand with chronic illness. People fantasize about a lot more ways to die than just that one. People will say it's insensitive and unfair to people who are terminally ill for people who aren't to say that they would want that, because the whole issue with being terminally ill is you don't get a fucking choice, but people don't choose to want to have thoughts to unalive themselves either. I'm 30. I had undiagnosed POTS, dysautonomia, Ehlers-Danlos my entire life. You want to know what they told me the cause was? Me being a lazy, irresponsible, attention-seeking, personal failure who doesn't want to get better. You want to know what that made me want to do? Not live, that's for fucking sure. And then I would see people who had really debilitating conditions or terminal illnesses that were getting this thing called, like, empathy? And being told it wasn't their fault? And they got to leave this earth, but people were nice to them when they left? I was like, damn! I fucking want some of that! Instead, I was trying to off myself getting chucked in psych wards and institutions where I was being tortured and abused by professionals who were convincing me that I was insane. So even if someone just has migraines or back pain and it's so severe that they don't have any options anymore and they don't want to live, but maybe they feel too guilty to do it themselves because they feel like their family would be mad at them, and you want to know what they couldn't be mad at me for? A terminal illness. You're supposed to be nice and sympathetic to those people. Like, it makes perfect sense why people would fantasize about having a terminal illness. It's called mental illness, which can also be terminal. It's just considered a lot less shameful. There's comments on that video being like, I have POTS, it's not even that bad. What? Bro, I have the financial privilege of being unemployed, bedbound, and still actually getting to sleep in a bed. Other people cannot work because of their POTS. They're bedbound, but they don't get a bed. They get the sidewalk because they're fucking homeless, and then they die of a fentanyl overdose trying to cope with their 180 heart rate every day. Assuming that because you have a medical condition that everybody else who has it must experience the same symptoms is fucking crazy, because I can name you the most disabled person from POTS who's like unable to walk or even sit in a wheelchair at all, has never left their fucking bed in 10 years, and I guarantee there's somebody who's 5 times worse than that. There's comments being like, POTS isn't even that bad unless you have full syncope, meaning you're fainting and losing full consciousness and a medical professional could verify you're unconscious. Really? Because if that was happening to me in the hospital, they would be more inclined to believe me. I would have been more inclined to get a diagnosis much sooner. Instead, I was falling down and cracking my skull on things, and nobody believed me. You want to know what that is? Fucking dangerous. I wish I could know what % of people who unalive themselves is from postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, because I get a lot of DMs from people who are like, oh my God, Jessica, my sister died from depression, and I've been seeing your videos, and she complained of every single thing you're talking about, and nobody believed her. She did not die of depression, she died of POTS, and people not believing she had it. I have to actively remind myself and like take a moment of gratitude that it only took me 15 years to get diagnosed, because I know people that it took 30, 40, 50 fucking years for them to get diagnosed, and I have to, it's a conscious effort, because when I hear somebody got diagnosed in 5 years, I'm like, wow, you've not suffered at all. And I know that's not true, because even if I would have only been diagnosed at the age of 16 and I only would have suffered up until 16, that still would have been fucking traumatizing. I consider myself so lucky that it only took me 15 years to get diagnosed, and the first line treatment worked for me. That's crazy. So many people try every option there is to manage POTS symptoms, and none of it works. I can't just be like, oh, take a propranolol, you'll be fine. I can't just assume that that's going to work for everybody. So if you would prefer to have a terminal illness instead of POTS, not only do I want to be your friend, I want to make sure that you don't die, because that's giving an indication that you kind of want to.